This is English shorthand dictation number 72 and the dictation speed is 160 words per minute. Ready? Start. Mr. Chairman, this Constituent Assembly has not been in session for some days. It has done much formal business, but more is yet to be done. We have been cutting our way and clearing the ground on which we intend to erect the edifice of a constitution. However, it seems proper that before we proceed further, we should clearly understand where we are going and what we intend to build. It is apparent that on such occasions, details are unnecessary. In building, you will no doubt use each brick after mature consideration. Usually, when one desires to construct a building, one must have a plan for the structure that one wishes to erect and then collect the material required. For a long time we have been having various plans for a free India in our minds, but now when we are beginning the actual work, I hope you will be at one with me when I say that we should present a clear picture of this plan to ourselves, to the people of India, and to the world at large. The resolution that I am placing before you defines our aims, describes an outline of the plan, and points the way which we are going to tread. You all know that this Constituent Assembly is not what many of us wished it to be. It has come into being under particular conditions, and the British government has a hand in its birth. They have attached to it certain conditions. After serious deliberations, we accepted the state paper, which may be called the foundation of this assembly, and we shall endeavor to work within its limits. But you must not ignore the source from which this assembly derives its strength. Governments do not come into being by state papers. Governments are in fact the expression of the will of the people. We have met here today because of the strength of the people behind us, and we shall go as far as the people, not of any party or group, but the people as a whole shall wish us to go. We should therefore always keep in mind the passions that lie in the hearts of the masses of the Indian people and try to fulfill them. I am sorry there are so many absentees. Many members who have a right to come and attend the meeting are not here today. This in one sense increases our responsibility. We shall have to be careful that we do nothing which may cause uneasiness in others or goes against any principle. We do hope that those who have abstained will soon join us in our deliberations, since this constitution can only go as far as the strength behind it can push it. It has ever been and shall always be our ardent desire to see the people of India united together, so that we may frame a constitution which will be acceptable to the masses of the Indian people. At the same time, it is manifest that when a great country starts to advance, no party or group can stop it. Although this House has met in the absence of some of its members, it will continue functioning and try to carry out its work at all costs. The resolution that I am placing before you is in the nature of a pledge. It has been drafted after mature deliberation, and efforts have been made to avoid controversy. A great country is sure to have a lot of controversial issues, but we have tried to avoid controversy as much as possible. The resolution deals with fundamentals which are commonly held and have been accepted by the people. I do not think this resolution contains anything which was outside the limitations laid down by the British Cabinet or anything which may be disagreeable to any Indian, no matter to what party or group he belongs. Unfortunately, our country is full of differences, but no one, except perhaps a few, would dispute the fundamentals which this resolution lays down. The resolution states that it is our firm and solemn resolve to have a sovereign Indian Republic. We have not mentioned the word republic till this time, but you will well understand that a free India can be nothing but a republic. On this occasion, when the representatives of the Indian states are not present, I desire to make it clear how this resolution will affect the Indian states. It has also been suggested, and the suggestion may take the form of an amendment laying down that since certain sections of the House are not present, the consideration of the resolution may be postponed. In my opinion, such an amendment is not in keeping with the spirit of the times, because if we do not approve the first objective that we are placing before ourselves, before our country, and before the world at large, our deliberations will become meaningless and lifeless, and the people will have no interest in our work. Our intention regarding the states must be early understood. We do desire that all sections of India should willingly participate in the future Indian Union, but in what way and with what sort of government rests with them. The resolution does not go into these details. It contains only the fundamentals. It imposes nothing on the states against their will. The point to be considered is how they will join us and what sort of administration they will have. I do not wish to express my personal opinion on the matter. Nevertheless, I must say that no state can have an administration which goes against our fundamental principles or gives less freedom than obtaining in other parts of India. The resolution does not concern itself with what form of government they will have or whether the present Rajas and Nawabs will continue or not. These things concern the people of the states. It is quite possible that the people may like to have their Rajas. The decision will rest with them. Our republic shall include the whole of India. If a part within it desires to have its own type of administration, it will be at liberty to have it. I do not wish that anything should be added to or subtracted from the resolution. People are concerned with these problems, but they are not present here. It is my hope that this House will do nothing that may appear in papers, so that at no time should people be able to say that this House indulged in irregular talk. I desire to make it clear that this resolution does not go into details. It only seeks to show how we shall lead India to gain the objectives laid down in it. You will take into consideration its words and I hope you will accept them. But the main thing is the spirit behind it. Laws are made of words, but this resolution is something higher than the law. If you examine its words like lawyers, you will produce only a lifeless thing. We are at present standing midway between two eras. The old order is fast changing, yielding place to the new. At such a juncture, we have to give a live message to India and to the world at large. Later on, we can frame our constitution in whatever words we please. At present, we have to send out a message to show what we have resolved to attempt to do. As to what form or shape this resolution, this declaration will ultimately take, we shall see later. However, one thing is certain, it is not a law, but is something that breathes life in human minds. I hope the House will pass the resolution, which is of a special nature. It is an undertaking with ourselves and with the millions of our brothers and sisters who live in this great country. If it is passed, it will be a sort of pledge that we shall have to carry out. With this expectation and in this form, I place it before you. You have copies of it in Hindi with you. I will therefore not take more of your time to read it one way. However, I will read it in English and speak further on it in that language. This is the 5th day of this first session of the Constituent Assembly. Thus far we have laboured on certain provisional and procedural matters which are essential. We have a clear field to work upon. We have to prepare the ground, and we have been doing that these few days. We have still much to do. We have to pass our rules of procedure and to appoint committees and the like before we can proceed to the real step, to the real work of this Constituent Assembly. That is the high adventure of giving shape in the printed and written word to a nation's dream and aspiration. But even now, at this stage, it is surely desirable that we should give some indication to ourselves, to those who look to this assembly, to those millions in this country who are looking up to us, and to the world at large, as to what we may do. what we seek to achieve, whither we are going. It is with this purpose that I have placed this resolution before this house. It is a resolution, and yet it is something much more than a resolution. It is a declaration. It is a firm resolve. It is a pledge and an undertaking.